was a little bit of a glimpse into what the real pro game is all around, you know, and all about, which I would see on a daily basis, actually, because at that point, believe it or not, despite being a Scouser, I was the only one who lived in Chippenham at that time. So it was, it was interesting, and it was really lovely to get that type of insight.
And put it into words, you're playing at Wembley, a lifelong Liverpool supporter. What's it like to be playing on the pitch, bearing in mind you were all part-time players who all had day jobs in the week?
Probably what people don't know is the day before the actual final, we got to visit Wembley and walk on the pitch and have some photos taken and have a tour around the ground. And it was quite emotional for me because I picked the phone up and I was stood on the centre spot, and I remember calling my dad and saying to him, "Dad, guess where I'm standing?" And he said, "Where, son?" I said, "The centre spot at Wembley, Dad. Almost 14 years to the day since I was last here." And it just got a bit emotional, you know.
What about the game itself? Could you take it in?
I tried, and I made a conscious decision to try and take everything in on a day, because I probably knew that this wouldn't come around again. And especially at my age, I was 28, I think. I'd had a broken leg, I'd had a bad knee, so I was probably coming towards the end of my career. So I resolved to take everything in and try and savour every moment of the day. So for me, I think I've got a really good recollection of the day and the feelings and the atmosphere and the disappointment at the end as well.
And what did go through your mind when Deal scored that late goal?
That's a really good question. I honestly thought we could come back. I honestly thought, because that team was a special team. We just couldn't score. You know, we couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, and I know that's the aim of the game, and they've scored a wonder goal to win it. But I still believed we could come back. I remember looking up at the clock.
What was the sense sort of after the game? Because you want to treat it like a celebration, you got there, but you'd lost the game. What was the balance like, do you think?
After the game, I cried and cried and cried. As soon as the final whistle went, and I was slightly inconsolable. And I think that was largely because my friends and family were in the stands, you know. They were there watching me on the greatest stage in Wales football. And it was, you know, let's remember, it was the Twin Towers. It's the iconic Twin Towers. It wasn't the new Wembley. And don't get me wrong, we'd all love to play at the new Wembley as well. It's a wonderful stadium. I think there's certain players who've never played at Wembley, people like Pele, you know. So it was an honour. And I think all that caught up with me at the end. The only other time really I've ever cried at the end of a game of losing was when I was a kid, when I was 13 or 14, losing a cup final, you know. So the emotion got to me. But then, you know, the dressing room was a bit sombre. So I think it started to sink in about how proud we should be of what we did, what we achieved, and what we've done for the fans actually as well. Because, you know, there's not a lot of fans in that type of non-league era to say they've had the day out that they had, or the time that they had leading up to the final, you know. And if it wasn't for a lot of what they were doing and the selflessness that they put themselves through and the support they give us, you know, combined ourselves and themselves, we wouldn't have got to where we got to.
What was it like the week leading up to Wembley? Because, of course, you've all got day jobs, family lives, commitments. What on earth was it like?
Oh, it was crazy. It was. You know, we had sort of Sky TV coming and filming us training, and you know, we were going around the schools and we had memorabilia and various things that we were selling, you know, in Chippenham High Street, and you know, all the shops were kind of flags, blue and white, and you know, it was crazy, and you know, that sort of being famous for 5 minutes certainly was. It was an incredible thing. It was an incredible thing, and you know, the enjoyment of it, and you know, the enjoyment of actually knowing you'd achieved, you know, that boyhood dream of, you know, every boy that plays football dreams of playing at Wembley and stuff. So it was such an emotional roller coaster, and you know, you had to. I mean, I never forget. You know, you watch a lot of the FA Cup sort of build up from that era, and it was all about, make sure you enjoy the day and, be a little bit of a sponge and soak it all in. Everybody wanted to talk about it.
Family-wise, friends-wise, colleagues-wise, did you take many people up to Wembley from where you were?
All the family came up, and obviously Dan, my son, had followed us all the way through it. He was a supporter as well as a son, and I know that he kind of felt all those emotions with us as well, because it was his dad. It was dad who was captain, and he just he loved every moment of it. We talk about it a lot still now, 20 years on. He's just become a dad himself, so it's that sort of thought of being able to tell his son about what his granddad's done as well. So yeah, no,
you sound quite emotional just remembering it 20 years on.
I am. It's still no, although it was one of those days where things just didn't go quite right for us on the pitch. The actual getting there was such a great achievement in itself. So certainly always emotional, kind of thinking about the day.
What's it like to be in the tunnel? 10-3, captain's armband on. When you're in that tunnel and then walking through, what was that like for you?
Yeah, pride. Pride. Lots of things go through your mind. Got to drive these guys on. We really want to push through kind of anything. Just don't make mistakes. You can't really describe it. It's just, it's a magical moment. It was almost like an out-of-body experience, really. I remember being on the pitch and just sort of controlling the ball and looking around and making a pass. And it wasn't really one of those things where, you can explain. It was somebody else looking from the outside in. And it was such a hot day, but, all you were concentrating on was just playing football and trying, to make sure that you've done everything you can without sort of making mistakes. And yeah, it was just one of those awesome experiences, really. I think that, I sort of always stays with me.
What about the late goal?
Heartbreaking. 87th minute, absolute screamer of a goal. And it didn't really give us an awful lot of time, really, to do anything about it.